my god, so much is going on right now on my table, but in reality, we're going to make something as simple as ice cream. Of course, dairy free, and if you can obtain truly raw cashews, then raw and vegan, of course. So, I would like to show you several recipes. I will stuff my freezer with all kinds of ice cream, and from the like in terms of equipment, we will need a blender. This is a mandatory thing, and preferably we will need coffee grinder to grind the nuts. And the first thing that I would want to make is banana ice cream sandwiches. Ice cream sandwiches have always been my favorite kind of ice cream, and so I decided to recreate it. So for this one, I froze a banana. So I have frozen banana here. I used parchment paper to freeze it, and I am going to transfer it to the blender. This paper will toss it. Throw it out later. And we will need cashews and a little bit of water. We need to be very quick. Cashews to taste. If you wanted more creamy, then more cashews. If you wanted more on the fruity side, then go ahead and add less. Then I'm adding vanilla extract, just a little bit. And then I will probably throw a date to it to make it truly, or half a date even, just for extra sweetness. And then I'm going to put a little bit of water for blending. And we're going to blend it. So now I'm transferring this creamy mixture into the bowl, and I will bring it back to the freezer because I want it to stay cold while I'm preparing my sandwich part of this ice. I don't want it to turn rock solid, and actually if you don't put too much water, it will be freezing very slowly because nuts, they give out a lot of oil, a lot of fat, and so they will turn into this proper, perfect consistency of frozen that is melty and softer. So something more on the silky side. So this departs to the freezer. Now it is time to prepare our sandwich ice cream foundation. So I'm going to add a handful of dates. I think it's 5 dates or so that are washed, soaked. I'm adding them to the blender. I'm adding them with a little bit of water for blending. And also I'm going to add lemon zest. Lemon zest will make these crusts, so-called crusts, very tasty because it will add this unique flavor to them. And it will highlight the chocolate so much. Really, basically what I'm going to use is typical raw vegan foundation for all pastries. No, not pastries, even desserts, like all these brownie things. It's dates, nuts, and cacao powder. This is my favorite combination. So I'm adding zest, lemon zest here. As much as you can harvest stuff of like half a lemon or 1 lemon, doesn't really matter. We can also add some lemon juice to it. All this stuff, it enhances the flavor so much. That's why I'm adding variety of flavors, because every bit that goes into this batter, that goes into this sandwich part, is so important, and it can be brought to perfection, to some artistic strength, so to speak. So we're also going to add cacao powder straight there with the dates, such that we get this homogeneous and silky mixture. I like it to be strong, so I'm adding probably a couple of tablespoons of cacao, and I'm going to blend it until it's homogeneous and creamy. So I'm transferring this to the bowl where we will be mixing all of our ingredients, and the next step will be to prepare the nut paste. We can of course opt for using already prepackaged almond flour, but almond flour seems to be a kind of processed food to me because it's like milled nuts that have been sitting on the shelf for a century. Probably, I think they also squeeze oil before they make flour, so it's like highly oxidized matter. that doesn't contain all the oils from the nuts. So I'm not sure. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. But we're transferring this mixture. We could have spun it a couple more times with more water just to get the pieces to melt, but it's not a big deal really. Dates they taste like pieces of candy when you get them in the batter and the dessert. So I personally I'm not against them. If you are against them, then go ahead and mill it several times until this water, date, cacao, lemon zest mixture is completely homogeneous. And now what I need to do is I need to pulse pecan and almonds in the coffee grinder. So the thing that I discovered is that pecans are actually insanely good as a foundation. Alternatives, of course, walnuts. Walnuts will be my second choice. Pecans give an incredible amount of flavor, and they're so unique and beautiful, especially used for the crust for the ice cream. So I'm adding them, and let's pulse pecans, and then we'll go pulse the almonds. There's some pieces, okay, let's move them back, the ones that we see. And didn't get the chocolate paste on them. Although, I don't know if it's a big deal even. So then we'll put almonds here. We are transferring our freshly made nut flour. Now we need to mix it all very well. So I almost ran out of nuts, but let's add a little bit more pecan. Consistency must be right. It must be more solid than it is creamy. Until then, we need to add dry matter to this batter. And I think given the scarcity of the resource, I will have to use flour. Boom. So let's add it. It's just this brown almond flour that I added. Again, just to bring the consistency to more like I'm so bad with terminology for pastries because ever since I moved to the States, I barely made anything like desserts, baked things. I used to do this back in Russia almost 7 years ago, more than 7 years ago. So it was a thing, but here in the States, ever since I discovered Whole Foods my first weekend living in the States, I just started getting so interested in everything that exists in the United States. What a beautiful market of foods. It was such a blessing for me when I discovered the availability and diversity of everything that is sold at the stores here so freely and abundantly. Of course, with time, the accessibility of those things it kind of decreases because of the inflation. But, I always prioritized, even when I was a PhD student. I didn't make much money. I made just, they calculate the wages for the students as the minimum required to survive. Even with those, I was able to eat organic. I was able to eat healthy. I will always prioritized it. It was like not non-disputable expense for me. So I mixed the batter and now I'm going to transfer it. So I like to use parchment paper for these things because it makes things not stick as much. But what we'll need to do is a supplementary thing. Here I have coconut oil. One special thing that you can do to elevate your raw vegan ice cream is to make this beautiful glaze. You take coconut oil, preferably unrefined, because refined coconut oil, it does go through a huge procedure. It's whole engineering involved in it. And it strips away good flavor and it enhances some bad flavor. I don't know. Not a fan, but it's up to you. So I'm adding cacao powder to the coconut oil. And then we'll stir this cacao into the oil until it's silky and homogeneous. Of course, if you have time, if you have enthusiasm, you can sift cacao. So I'm stirring this beautiful thing, and it turns into this beautiful silky glaze that will immediately crunch up in contact with anything cold. We can even prime the parchment paper with a little bit of this glaze. just to create some points of delamination. So we'll just spread a little bit of this glaze on the parchment paper. It's impermeable, so I don't worry about the table. Here, it's nice waxed paper, so it will be nice. So I created these primers, and now I will start rolling flattening the batter on those things. With dry hands, I can actually add a little bit of this oil mixture to make my hands lubricated, such that this batter doesn't stick too much, but in experience usually doesn't really stick too much. So I'm taking first half and we start rolling it. Whatever inclusions like a flour that was not mixed too very well, we can mix it in manually, but I'm starting flattening it into this shape, and we can put it on the sheet and start shaping it into a rectangle or whatever shape we prefer. Then the rest we can cut with a knife, adding it some nice geometric factor. But if you don't really care too much, then we can leave it the way it turns out to be. Don't remain tempted and just try this batter if you haven't tried date-based things. On the trip to Montenegro, my mom shared that she tried a warm date pie. I'm imagining it was an incredibly tasty thing. And it's apparently a part of some traditional cuisines as well. So this emulates it very well. It's just raw, so all enzymes are intact. So we put first one together, and we will put the remaining batter here. So trying to hit the same proportions as that one. I just tried a piece of this batter. So pecan, such that you understand what it does, it creates the flavor of sugar waffle cone. Even though the texture is, of course, not nearly the same, but the flavor is very close to it. It has hints of that thing. So I'm taking my coconut glaze and I'm just dripping it randomly on both of these sandwich parts. And now I'm transferring the banana mixture here in portions. I'm not transferring it all. The reason for that is that I want to have this coconut glaze between the layers. So I want to transfer some of it, and then I want to drip more of this coconut glaze. It will crunch up, so whenever you eat this ice cream, you will be having experiences of like sudden chocolate. Now, for extra sensations, we will add a little bit of cocoa nibs. Here, you can already see I just pulled out the banana ice cream from the fridge, and coconut oil-based glaze already solidified on it. So I'm transferring more. Paying attention to the edges. I don't want to make a pyramid or something. Actually, what am I doing? I was supposed to cover the one with another. So let's just cover one. Putting more glaze. Fork is convenient for that because you don't pour much at once. The teeth, they allow you to really distribute this glaze. Putting more. You can wait for it to solidify. It's a relatively quick process. But if you want to be efficient and quick, then there's no reason to. If you don't spread your mixture such that this coconut glaze moves around, it's not a big deal. More of it. Now, I need to transfer this top. It fell very readily, which is nice. So here's what we've got. We've got this ice cream sandwich situation. And of course, coconut oil really helped it to slip. It absorbed into the crust and the very surface layer, and it allowed it to slip very easily off the paper. I even didn't expect that. So potentially it would be nice if you refrigerate this top part for a little bit while you're preparing everything on the bottom. And then you pull it out of the fridge, flip it, and let it sit until it melts. And then you remove the paper. It will be very easy. It will be process of delamination. It will be so simple and nice. So this hero goes to the freezer. So the second thing that we're going to prepare will be maple pecan. ice cream, but without maple syrup, we will be using dates. So this whole thing will contain only whole foods as source of sweetness, as source of sugar. There will be no refined sugars, no syrups, nothing like this. I will need to put pecan, just a handful for flavor, and then I will be using cashews again. Cashews and water for blending. So if that ice cream had already frozen banana, this one will need to go to the freezer for longer because it's all room temperature ingredients. A little bit of vanilla extract, and of course dates. This one will require to be sweetened more because it doesn't contain already sweet banana. So I'm putting generously like 4 or 5 dates for like 1 serving or 2 servings, let's say 2 servings, because it's really filling, so you likely will eat less than your normal ice cream that is made of milk, that is made of water. This one is very dense food, so you need less. I'm pouring water and we're again going to blend it. So I decided to add a little bit of cinnamon to this recipe, so I will add cinnamon and I will spin it again because this one is not based, so it doesn't have the base of banana, something creamy as already, so we'll need to spin it again, but again, I'm adding a little bit of cinnamon to this recipe. So now that our pecan, cashew, and spices mixture is blended, we will transfer it as well to the dish which we will freeze it in. This will go to the freezer until it's frozen and we can enjoy it afterwards. Probably within an hour or this will be done. The mixture feels very viscous actually. Very cool texture. I can smell very strong cinnamon presence. This is so tasty. You can also add a little bit of raisins to it. I can't wait to try it frozen. I want to spin a little bit of strawberries to make strawberry cream ice cream as well. So I will put some strawberries and a little bit of more cashews. And instead of water, I want to add lemon juice to it. Cashews to it. Frozen strawberries, so they will be immediately ready as an ice cream. About a handful as well, so something like couple of handfuls. And again, you can regulate how creamy you want your ice cream to be, whether you want it to be very creamy or whether you want it to be more fruity. I like to add zest whenever I use lemon because that's what gives dishes lemon flavor. So first, before I add my lemon, I will grate it a little bit into the blender. Make sure to remove all stuff that's on the inside of the grater that gets stuck there, and make sure to wash lemons really well. So I'm cutting it in half and squeezing juice into there. So this will taste more like strawberry yogurt, and if you are a fan of frozen yogurt, then you will really appreciate this recipe. So I'm squeezing it and making sure, preferably, that the seeds of the lemon don't go inside. And now we'll have to blend it again. We can add just a tiny bit of water and spin it. So it's time to transfer our beautiful strawberry cream. It gets so homogeneous and so good. You should definitely try it even if you have no relationships with anything related to raw veganism altogether. This is just so good. This will depart either to the fridge or to the freezer. If you are ready to eat it relatively soon, you can put it in the fridge and it will keep very cold until you're ready to eat it, like within the first couple of hours. Or you can transfer it to the freezer and then gently defrost it. It's just the best. It's the best. So here is what we've made today. We've made a beautiful strawberry cream yogurt ice cream, which is strawberry, lemon, cashews, and just a couple of dates. Look at this. It is so creamy. It is so delicious. It is so perfect. This will become your favorite. I feel like this will become your favorite. Then the next one, the next in the spotlight, is our pecan ice cream. I remember ice cream shops in Italy that are called Grom. And Grom sold ice cream that had also pecan base and it had rum and raisins. And I never expected to like it, but it's amazing. And this one reminds me so much of it. Here we added dates, we added cashews, we added pecans, and we added a little bit of cinnamon and vanilla. So this is it. But I can see how it can go really well with whole raisins, given also how raisins behave when they're frozen. So absolutely try it. Freeze raisins, golden raisins, and add them to this mixture after it's made. It's so good. And now it is time to indulge in our sandwich ice cream. As in every other one, no added sugar. What we made it out of was frozen banana, cashews, vanilla, a date or date again to taste. If you don't like anything particularly sweet, don't add extra dates. And then for the crust, we used milled pecan, milled almonds, and dates cocoa powder. And then I showed you some tricks for how to make it not stick, how to assemble it easily, and also there is this bonus thing which is coconut oil glaze that becomes very crunchy, thin, and melty in the freezer. So this will be a nice surprise inside of this mixture. I hope you enjoyed, and let me know in the comments which one of these ice creams is your favorite, and also maybe share combinations that you would appreciate.